Hello and welcome to episode number 42 of Slay. Let me get you caught up on the story, and then, of course, it is a story time. Previously on Slay. Once upon a time, Lincoln Franks was a rixator, one of, if not the best, in the business. To support and provide for Magda, his former rixator Socius, or partner, he quit the Bastion and became a freelance assassin and monster hunter. He hasn't been back to the Bastion since he quit, but his sister Sophia and his brother Lucas said he needs to go back and pay his respects to the Clostator, the Bastion's lead person. That Clostator, Juanita, is sick and may not live much longer. While Lincoln is in Corids, where the Bastion is, he needs to pawn one of Ariella Goldsmith's meshwork charms in order to raise enough money to pay this month's mortgage on the old stone church. And now, episode 42 of Slay. And it looks like my Shormy sound is not working out tonight, guys. Let me try that again. Boop. There it goes. Corids architecture ran the gamut of the Earth's ancient cultures, legends, and religions, both living and long since dead. From magnificent pagodas to golden shrines, to soaring stone towers, to magnificent pyramids and ziggurats, to mighty castles. Sumerian and Egyptian, Greek and Mesoamerican, Rus and Romanesque, Gothic and Vijayanagara, Tudor and Manuelan, Incan and Moorish, and Hoysala, and many more Lincoln didn't know. In this section of Corids, in the heart of the heart, so to speak, all of these buildings, big and small alike, commoner and imperial alike, they all gleamed with intricate detail, with crenellations and outcroppings. They sparkled with meshwork features. Statues, friezes, carvings, mosaics, gargoyles. There was beauty no matter where you looked. Unless you were looking at the Bastion. The Bastion. The place where Lincoln had spent his teenage years and most of his adult life. The place where he had trained relentlessly. The place where he had suffered and succeeded. The place where he had become a rixator. No delicate features and intricate details here, no sir. The rectangular Bastion was devoid of such delicacies. Four plain gray stone walls anchored at the corners by four plain octagonal gray towers. The main gate was open, with the portcullis raised. Behind the walls, taller than the 80-foot walls themselves, even taller than 100-foot tall towers, rose the keep. The 20-foot thick walls held storage, some offices, and lodging for the poverty-vowed rixators, adjurators, and monarchy, and low-level administrators. The keep, though, that was where the real business of the Bastion got done. Through that open gate, Lincoln could hear the distant clang of young rixators drilling and sword fighting, a prerequisite before they were allowed to choose their personal weapon. Lincoln, Magda, Shaheem, and others in their class had all done the same back in the day. Soon, he had to go through that gate, enter a place he hadn't set foot in for years. He didn't want to go in. He did not want to be reminded of what he had once been. But he would do it. Right after he took care of the money situation. Lincoln realized he had been slouching. He straightened up, adjusted his between cloak. With his haze of Samiral covering his eyes, he'd likely be seen as just another rixator. He got approving nods from passers-by. He relished those little tributes of thanks, of support. It was fun to pretend, at least for a little while. Lincoln returned one of those nods, then turned away from the Bastion's walls and headed for the clearinghouse. The clearinghouse was old even by the standards of a city founded before Puzur Ashur the first became king. Huge blocks of rose-colored crystal made up the walls, while slim columns of amber supported a tympanum lined with flowering curves of silver. Slate tiles covered the peaked roof, a drab contrast to the rest of the building's gemstone splendor. A tawny-furred Lowenmensch stood sentry on either side of the open entrance. Each held a tall, golden spear in their left hand, a golden kite shield on their right arm. Their lion eyes stared out across the city, ignoring everyone until it was time to not ignore them. Their manes were fluffy and perfect. Fuckers probably had to spend hours in a salon to get manes like that. Lincoln had never squared off against the Lowenmensch, and he hoped he never would. When it came to the many strains of the enlightened, strength didn't necessarily correlate with size, but he had no desire to test the power of a 7-foot-tall lion man that weighed at least 500 pounds. The Lowenmensch never asked visitors to give up weapons or magic, which was evidence that the magic inside the clearinghouse was even more dangerous than the guards outside. And this close to the Bastion, clearinghouse patrons would have no idea what kind of meshwork awaited shoplifters and troublemakers. The Bastion resonated with a mesh buzz that dampened meshwork effects in its radius. That ancient security measure ensured that anyone dumb enough to attack the Bastion would have no idea what dangers awaited inside. The clearinghouse benefited by simple proximity. Lincoln entered. The place was full. Lincoln entered. The place was half full of customers lining the glass-top counters, buying and selling treasures that dated back to the beginning of time, through future dates yet to come, to eras that never were. Magical items of all stripes, from bracelets and necklaces and rings, to swords and staffs. Magical items of all stripes, from bracelets and necklaces and rings, to swords and staffs and firearms, to helmets and hard armor and chainmail, to furniture and clothing and tapestries. Weird stuff, too. Jars of pickled eyes, a display of dreidels, a kitchen appliance section which included a meshwork panini press Lincoln had always lusted after. It made any hot sandwich you could think of in the blink of an eye. Mirrors of all shapes and sizes, a display of various leather and felt bags, chests both ancient and new, a floor-to-ceiling glass case of 70s memorabilia, some from 1770, some from 1870, some from 1970, and some, supposedly, from 2070. Buyer beware on that last one. Behind each counter, a snake standing tall. There were several species: cobras, rattlesnakes, vipers, boas, pythons, coral snakes, and more, all wearing black polo shirts that hung on ghostly, translucent shoulders and arms. Their heads bobbed and weaved as they talked to customers. Their eyes gleamed black with focused interest, if not outright glee. The staff here loved their jobs. The clearinghouse, the place where fortunes were made if you could negotiate the right price. Lincoln scanned the counters, saw his favorite employee, a brown taipan with glistening scales. He strode to her counter fast enough for his cape to catch a bit of air. It was best to look the part. "Hello, Peanut," he said. The black eyes stared out. "Lincoln, is that you?" "Detego," Lincoln said. The haze of caramel covering his eyes dissipated. "Ah," Peanut said. "One of my favorite customers. Long time no see." Lincoln leaned over the counter and spoke quietly. You know you can drop that list with me," he said. "I'm not one of the rubes." Peanut reared back a little, glanced left, glanced right, then met Lincoln's eyes. "I appreciate it," she said. "You looking for another weapon? I have a set of Vish Canyon throwing knives that just came in, wonderfully balanced. Selling, not buying, Lincoln said. He pulled the balled-up paper towel from a cloak pocket, set it on a velvet mat atop the counter. He unbunched the paper towel, spread it out, exposing the thumb-sized hunk of turquoise inside. Classy presentation, Peanut said. Can I at least assume it was a clean paper towel? I mean, it was clean enough. Peanut's ghostly hand picked up the lump of rock, turned it this way and that. A Gollum channeler. Her tongue flicked in and out. Interesting item. Would you vouch for its functionality? Goddamn thing almost killed me, Lincoln said. It made a golem out of books, of all things. Hundreds of books. What's your offer? Peanut's head slid back, but her eyes stayed fixed on the hunk of turquoise. 100 gold, she said. Lincoln huffed and looked away, doing his best to seem disgusted. That was how his dad had taught him to barter. It's worth 5 times that, Lincoln said. You know it. Lincoln actually had no idea how much it was worth. Ariel had said get 500 gold for it, so that was the number he would shoot for. Maybe it's worth that in some establishments, Peanut said, but not this one. I have an entire room of charm pieces in the back. Can't get rid of the stuff. The taipan continued to stare at the rock, undoubtedly estimating how much she could sell it for. I'll give you 150. That would cover the payment to Bingles, but not the mortgage as well. Ariella would likely lose her shit. 400, Lincoln said. Why do you insult me so, Lincoln? Times are hard. Yeah, I'm sure they are. The snakehead quickly dipped down, eyed the rock from the left, then from the right. 200. The head rose up, level with Lincoln's. And that is more than fair. Lincoln, honestly, didn't have time for this. Let's cut the shit, he said. 250. And, you throw in that panini press. I'll pick it up later. The snake's ghostly hand extended. You have a deal. Lincoln and Peanut shook. The hand might look intangible, but the handshake felt firm. Ariella might be mad, sure, but Lincoln couldn't be in Corids long or people would find out and come after him. He still had business to attend to. Peanut, can you transfer some of it to the Argentinari Bank from here? Yes, we have a direct line, Peanut said. Sometimes people want to sell things that won't fit through the door. Houses, buildings, estates, that sort of thing. Of course, the clearinghouse had a direct line. For all the magical trappings, the building's elegance, and the breadth of rare merchandise, the place was still a pawn shop. When people needed money, they pawned things, including houses, buildings, estates, that sort of thing. Lincoln told Peanut the amount and his account number. Peanut went into the back to take care of it right away, leaving Lincoln alone at the counter. He couldn't put it off any longer. Integumento, he said, and the gray haze again covered his eyes. Time to go see Juanita. Time to enter the Bastion. The recruits didn't all stop at once. Lincoln walked across the sprawling courtyard's flagstone road toward the keep. He had the haze across his eyes, but in this place, in the Bastion, he was not mistaken for someone else, not assumed to be a good, giving, and game rixator, pledged to poverty and committed to selfless acts of service. Here, people knew him on sight. The recruits were going at it hard, 2 lines of 10 clashing with dulled swords. Their white robes were torn from strikes, dirty from hitting the flagstones, and spotted with blood. Some theirs, some their opponents'. Two had stopped sparring. Sword still in hand, blood trickling from cuts and bruises, they stared openly at Lincoln as he walked. Another stopped. Then another. Their trainer, clad in gray robes, moved toward them, a blood-spotted wooden trudel in his hand. Then he, too, stopped and stared. Well, how about that? It was Fook Kip, who had run Lincoln and Magda through similar punishing drills. He still looked as craggy as pine bark. Lincoln would never forget the bloody smile of pride on Fook's face the first time Lincoln had put him down in a one-on-one fight. All the recruits stopped. It was obvious some knew who Lincoln was, and some did not. Fook put his trung dao to his chest. He bowed his head. Lincoln stopped walking. He bowed his head in return. No matter what the Bastion had done to him, Lincoln knew he would not be alive without Fook's training. There were other trainers, too, not the least of which was Jacoby Franks himself, but Fook's brutal methods taught the valuable lesson of pain over and over again. It was the one lesson Lincoln had never forgotten. He started toward the keep again and was almost to the big armored doors when they swung inward. A lone man stepped out. Shahim Khalil. A familiar face. A trusted face. A smiling face. Long, curly black hair, light brown skin, and the same pathetic mustache he'd been trying to grow since he was 16. The last time Lincoln saw the man, Shahim had worn the gray cloak and armor of a rixator. Now, he wore the brown cassock of a villicus, a Bastion administrator, and the white sash tied around his waist, which marked him as the tertius, the second in line to become the clostator, the commander of the entire Bastion. "Lincoln, my friend," Shahim said. "Welcome back." They embraced. Lincoln felt awkward, but Shahim... They embraced. Lincoln felt awkward, but Shahim gave the double back thump of a classic bro hug. "Come inside," Shahim said. "The clostator is expecting you." Shahim looked at the trainees, then to Fook. In an instant, Fook's face morphed from nostalgic to furious. "You maggots!" he screamed, in a voice that was even more craggy than his craggy face. "Did I tell you to stop beating the hell out of each other? Line up, maggots! Last one to score a touch spars with me!" Lincoln had to stifle a laugh at the horrified expressions on the trainees' faces. He didn't blame them. Sparring with Fook hurt. Lincoln entered the keep with Shahim. It was like a time warp. Nothing had changed. Same old gray stone walls, same old gray stone floor. Meshwork spheres set up near the same old gray stone ceiling cast a steady white glow. They walked together. Shahim did not need to show Lincoln the way. Lincoln had been called to the clostator's quarters more times than he could remember. "You look good, Shahim," Lincoln said. "You know, I never would have thought a mustache that passes for an anorexic caterpillar with alopecia would look sharp, but, man, yours truly does." "Thank you. I appreciate that," Shahim said. "You look good, too. Most guys carrying an extra 30 pounds would look fat, but pleasantly plump really becomes you." Lincoln laughed. "Yeah, I put on a few pounds." "A few? You used to remind me of a walking broadsword. Now I would call your shape more shield-like." Well, that was an exaggeration, but Lincoln had to admit that he was far from the condition he'd been in when everyone knew him as the toughest guy in the Bastion. "Thank you for coming," Shahim said. "It means a lot to the clostator." The Bastion corridors pulsed with the day-to-day energy of the place. Gray-clad rixators, burgundy-clad adjurators, and the occasional black-clad monarchy walked the corridors, but most of the foot traffic consisted of administrators in brown cassocks, low-level questors, and their villicous supervisors. It struck Lincoln, and not for the first time, that these halls and the people in them had looked the same for the last 4,000 years. Some walked by focused on their various tasks. Most, though, stared at Lincoln. Some with fond reminiscence, some with astonishment, and some, most really, with open disgust. They didn't like him anymore? Well, fuck him. You know, I can't believe that Basil is the secundo, Lincoln said. I hate that prick. Shaheen nodded. And that prick hates you. I'll try to get you in and out before he knows you're here. That was a nice thing to do. But that was Shaheen for you. The nicest person in the world until you cross blades with him. Then, cover up your balls, buddy, because Heem fought dirty. They reached the Closetor's quarters. The entrance looked like any other in the Bastion. Simple, unadorned, rough stone. The entrance looked like any other in the Bastion. Simple, unadorned, rough stone framing doors made of wood older than any nation on the planet. There were no guards. No one in existence was stupid enough to attack someone here. Doing so would have you pushing up daisies if you were lucky. If you weren't lucky, you would spend the rest of your miserable existence in the gale deep beneath the very courtyard Lincoln had just walked across. Shaheen reached for the door handle, but before he could grab it, the door swung inward by itself. Well, shit, Lincoln said. In the doorway stood Basil Beverly and his Socius Rochelle Collar. She wore the burgundy armor and cowl of an adjurator. He wore a brown cassock with a red sash around his waist that marked him as the Clausta Secundo. Steal my breath and turn it into a light breeze, Basil said. If it isn't the quitter in the flesh. Lincoln's hand curled into a fist, but he relaxed it just as fast. He was stupid, sure, but not stupid enough to get his own ass thrown into the gale. But Basil's face was just so damn punchable. Arrogance and old-world competence, accented by bushy black eyebrows and a bald pate with, well, just perfectly graying temples that made him look like the picture in the dictionary next to the entry for aristocrat. Basil, Lincoln said. Rochelle? She sneered a sneer that would have looked at home on the most insolent of British punks. Her spiky blonde hair added to the image. Lincoln was a bit surprised that someone who looked like Rochelle didn't have a few safety pins punched through her cheek. He is the Clausta Secundo, and you will address him as such, she said. Show the proper respect, quitter. Lincoln wanted to punch her, too. If he dotted them both, maybe the gale would be worth it. Got it, Lincoln said. Let me jot that down so I won't forget. He made a show of patting his chest and his hips, the places pockets might go. Ah, confound it. I'll have my moleskin at the coffee shop. Basil stepped near. The closer that face came, the more punchable it got. While I feel no joy at the Closetor's demise, soon I will be in charge, he said. You'd better start looking for a new line of work, bounty hunter. My first order of business will be to put an end to that trade and return the Bastion to traditional values. Traditional values? Lincoln laughed. We talking Spanish Inquisition traditional, Basil old bean? You gonna make the Bastion great again? Can I buy a snazzy red ball cap for the occasion? Basil smiled. Make the Bastion great again is exactly what I am going to do. Dark times are coming, Franks. We will counter them with the light. And woe be to anyone who tries to stop that light. Come, Rochelle, we have work to do. Basil tried to lightly shoulder past Lincoln, but Lincoln did not budge. The Secundo's smile faded. He stepped around Lincoln and headed down the hall. Rochelle flashed a parting sneer for good measure and hurried after him, her burgundy cloak flowing. Sorry about that, Shaheen said quietly. I did not know that Mr. Fun was inside. Lincoln nodded. I know, bud. I know. Shaheen stepped through the door and held it open. I promise you will get a warmer reception from the Clostator, he said. Come in, Link. She is waiting. That was episode number 42 of Slay. Come back for episode number 43 when Link gets to meet Juanita, the Clostator, and just gets a ration of shit. Good day. Goddamn it, Rob Otto. Usually I have the chat on another screen because a real girl herself is coming up, so we set up a 2-screen. This is a 1-screen. So I got to see Rob's chat where he says, MBGA, one of the red hats on sale at scottsigler.com. And it was all I could do to not laugh. But now I got to catch up on drinks for y'all. Chris Grohl, what's up, boy? Jack Forge, how are you? Look at all these lovely people. I'm going to turn on a fan now, boys. Here we go. All right, rabbits, here we go. You know, Vaughn, porticulus? It's another goddamn word. Porticulus, porticuli is another word I just now realized I've always read and never spoken out loud. So, there you go. Was not great. Now, as I told you guys, a real girl herself is downstairs. She is not up here because she is a little sick. A little sympathy for a real girl in the chat room would never be bad. Portcullis. God damn it. I knew that. God. I'll have to punch that in. Hey, make a mark. I got to punch that in. Thank you, Vaughn. Vaughn is my boy. Vaughn's got my back. Vaughn has also been pronouncing it incorrectly. Brolo in the house. My brother-in-law, Jude Stenson's in the house. Get to see him tomorrow. We see him tomorrow. He heads back to New York. All right, let's get at it. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to cover the schedule of the stank, and then we are going to get into the Empty Set Entertainment 2023 year in review. But of course, first, if you're new here, you really should text SIGTEXT to 855-955-5095 because it not only gets you 10% off coupon at scottsigler.com/store. We are able to inform you when new books are out, when new stories drop, when live streams are going. We keep it tight, though. We keep it real tight. We don't fucking overstay our welcome to that shit. Oh, I'm going to put my headphones back on. Hello, Jenna Leah. What's up? Wintry, Northern Indiana. And then, of course, you should also be signed up for scottsigler.com newsletter. Let me tell you why. There's this site called Twitch. Many of you have heard of it. Many of you have not. Twitch has been the biggest up-and-coming place for creators to share with fans in recent history. Today, they just laid off 500 people, 35% of their workforce. The point I'm making is this. All of these sites, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, MySpace, all of this crap, Twitter, Threads, you name it, it's all owned by somebody else. And eventually, all those people either perform mismanagement or outright fuckery. Mismanagement, outright fuckery. And all of the time a creator spends building an audience in those places becomes for naught. Oh, shit. A magical glass of tea just came through the door. But because I'm uncoordinated, I spilled it on my hand and burned the shit out of myself. So, yes, Tom from MySpace still loves you, Tim Clark. The point is, the single best place you can, if you have creators that you adore and want to stay in touch with them and see what they're doing, we all know you adore me. Don't lie. It's all right. Let it go. Newsletter's best place to go because we control that list. We'll always be able to reach out to you and inform you when new stuff's coming up. So let's get that shot screen. Now, let's get into the schedule of stank, y'all. Sunday, January 7th, a couple days ago, Slay 41 went live in the feed. So if you missed it, that's the place to get it. And Sunday, January 14th, you're going to hear what you just heard, Slay 42. But it'll be edited, so you'll be able to hear the description of Peanut. Wednesday, January 17th, live stream of Slay number 43. Please join me. I have a good time talking to you guys. Saturday, February 3rd, it is none other than Steve the Iceberg Ricky Berg's Junkie meetup. It's a Zoom meeting where you get to go hang out with. It's a Zoom meeting where you get to hang out with other junk. This looks like some fucking Cthulhu shit right here, dog. I've never had it right in my face before. Like, I will swallow your soul. It's a good time. Steve gets together, pour your own beverage, hang out, other junkies. I'm not there. I'm in front of your fucking faces all the time. Go to hell. But Steve's there. Sometimes a Rogal shows up, and a shit ton of junkies show up, trade notes with each other, have a very good time. Friday, February 23rd, my cousin's band Super Weapon is live at Navajo Live. It's the name of the place, Navajo Live in San Diego. We'll tell you more about that. But if you're in the San Diego area, start planning for Friday, February 23rd. Come out and have a good time. I hear he's got a new sermon on the old ones, which is going to bust out, which is going to be great. And then April 1st, Slay Season 1, an ebook and audiobook, co-created by myself and Rob Otto, who is in the chat room right here. All right. Great. Let's get into it. We are now going to get into the year in review. And if we finish that in time, we'll get into general chit-chat. We've got a combination of slideshow for you. And also we've got, shit, God damn it. There goes my punchline. Rob, what do you call it when you bring things in for a presentation? And please don't mention your penis. I know that's what you're going to go for, first of all. Visual aids. I have visual aids to share with you guys for it. So let's talk about 2023. It was a very good year for bald authors. First of all, of course, January 2023. Let's go. We had a couple things happen. Let me go to. That's my noise. It's like the Jeopardy song, but not quite the same. Oh, we got to go to books. January 2023, we started out on Slay. And now, while Rob Otto's name is now on the cover, this was the original cover when we started out. This was the grand experiment, which some of you tuned in for tonight, which is I write an episode a week. I live stream it on Wednesday, edit that, put that into the feed on Sunday because we were simply fucking out of shit to podcast. And we had to keep you guys interested because you're a fucking demanding bunch. Let's be honest with ourselves. You are a demanding bunch. So we got that going. But it wasn't the only thing we did in January. We also had the Stone Wolves from Graphic Audio. You will hear their name again. Great people over at Graphic Audio, a Michigan-based company. They did a full cast adaptation of the Stone Wolves, which I was able to write with my buddy J.C. Hutchins way back when, and it was fantastic. So that was a really good time. That was a thrill to get that out. I haven't listened to it yet because I send them I send Graphic Audio a lot of notes on pronunciations, on characterization. Frankly, Graphic Audio is like, bubbla. They're like this. Bubbla. We got this. Because it's a full cast audio production with sound effects and background music. And I think there's 17 actors who play the parts in the Stone Wolves. It's crazy. It's something that simply I am not capable of doing or do not have the will to do. So there you go. And then in February of 2023, we moved ScottSigler.com to a Shopify site, which has been very lucrative for us this year, being able to give you guys more fun merch and more fun books and more fun sales. But Shopify.com is an e-commerce site that is the biggest indie e-commerce platform as far as I know. But we're setting ourselves up for a big 2024 second half and a big 2025 when, frankly, and I haven't really covered this with a real goal yet, but that's probably what's going to happen. We're going to start selling some stuff related to the stories that you don't need to know the stories to be able to buy, and we'll be able to advertise those on Facebook and Instagram and other places. And you know what? Like, I'm going to be like Diddy. We're going to start merchandising this show. It's going to be great. Hi, Don. And we've spent the year moving our whole site over to Shopify, getting used to Shopify, learning how the intricacies, the ins and outs And it's a very powerful platform. There's a lot left to be desired, but remember, we've had ScottSigler.com live since 2003 or something like that. So we've gone through several iterations. This is the current iteration. We are quite pleased with it, and we will get better at it. Then we go to, oh shit, Becky. Oops, back up. I'm sorry, I missed one because I brought visual aids. Is it too early for an AIDS joke? Maybe. April of 2023, this lovely anthology came out. The Hitherto Secret Experiments of Marie Curie. Actually, it's Curie, like Curry the thing. This is a lovely, lovely book. I had a good story in here called... See if they gave me the notes on this. Hold on. I'll find it. You know why? Because I'm in the table of contents. Because I'm fucking important. You understand what I'm saying? It's a really great book. It is, let's see. Edited by Brian Thomas Schmidt and Henry Hertz, who's a cool dude. Let's see here. Where am I? Fuck, I don't remember. Wait, I got to look at my own name. A Glow in the Dark. That is the story I wrote, A Glow in the Dark. This is a fictional anthology that covers what Marie Curie was probably doing back in the day. Now, you only know her as a scientist, but let me tell you something. This honey kicked some ass, son. This honey was whooping on that ass. In my story, she whoops a whole bunch of paranormal ass. It's a very, 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 very good time. Let's see. And then we moved into, that was April. And then, actually, that got published in May. It got published in May 2023. June 2023, I got to go do a writing retreat with my screenwriting partner and now fiction writing partner, Rob Otto. And we mapped out the next 4 seasons of Slay, so seasons 2 through 5. You know what? I'm a modest guy. You guys know this. I don't talk myself up very much. I'm very, like, slow and low, that is the tempo. And I just let the accolades come to me. I don't go out for them. You know how I am. Very modest. But I will tell you what. By the time we get to Slay Season 5, you guys are all going to be fucking boners and nippy hard-ons. Whatever parts you got that get engorged, they're going to be engorged because Rob and I have created a monster. We have created a monster. And I can't wait. I wish there was a time warp so I get all the work done and not have to do the work, but do the work when I'm not paying attention and just go straight to the finale of Season 5. That's right, David. That's on my driver's license. Scott Modesty Sigler. There we go. So that is what I got to do in June. And Rob and I have another one coming up the next June or July. I'm not really sure. Dates? I don't know. I don't get those things. A will tell you guys in the comments. We don't know what we're going to work on just yet. Rob gets to pick the project this year. So it could be more Slay work. It could be something completely different. We don't know. We haven't figured that out yet. Because Rob and I are both horribly important and terribly busy. That's actually what we are. Moving into August. Oh, August. Shit got bonkers. August was 15 years in the making. 15 years. Some of you aren't even 15 years old. I mean, you probably are, but you were little. You were this big. Oops, shit. Fuck. Go back to books. The Crypt first sighting in the wild. We were at Dragon Con in Atlanta, Georgia, one of my favorite cons. And I went to my publisher is Athon. I went to the Athon booth and was completely flabbergasted, shell-shocked, and hoodwinked. Hoodwinked, I tell you, to find that they had published 200 copies of The Crypt Shakedown in hardcover. This motherfucker right here. And I walked into their booth, and I got to tell you, frankly, it was one of the greatest moments of my entire career, pro, amateur, anything, to be surprised that they had tricked this bitch out. And look how girthy it is. Look at that. Look at the girth on that. It's like so thick. My God, Becky, look at how thick it is. They had that ready for me, and it was I was blown away, had a great time. They're seriously good entrepreneurial dudes. Here they are right here. Here's the staff that runs Athon. And, man, these kids are, and I call them kids. I'm sure they're in their late 30s, early 30s, whatever. But you know what? They're kids to me. They're all kids to me. And A Real Girl and I have reached a point in our career where it is time to focus on the creativity and focus on the skill set that I've developed over the past 30 years which is how to tell fart jokes in a way that will make you pay fucking $20 for a hardcover, and then turn over the innovation to people who are younger and hipper and know more than I do. And that's Athon, and they're great. We're very excited to be with them. Hopefully we get to put out a bunch of books with them. And then also in August. Is that right, babe? Let me check it out right now. August. Okay, I may have got some slides out of order. We'll get to it. But the Druden was October. I got the dates wrong. October was able to put out Druden, which is a full cast audio production based on an original screenplay that I wrote with director Adrian Picardi. And we originally tried, back in 2017, 2018, we were trying to get this movie made. We have a full feature-length script, and our money went south, and our producer threatened to kill someone. So we were like, you know what? We're out. I would like to point out, this is the second time in my career we have had a producer who has threatened to murder someone and could probably back it up. You know, it's not like my boy's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, yeah, whatever, asshole, let's go. It's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, you know what? We're going to fucking Homer Simpson out of this bitch right here. So I'm getting to that A. God damn it, A. So anyway, so we put out Druden, and it's a wonderful time. If you have an Audible subscription, it's a 2.5 hour listen, but it's a 2 hour screenplay, but they pack so much sound effects and acting and extra stuff into it. It's very fun. It is a World War II horror story. And I mentioned the name Henry Hers earlier. He pointed out, like, it's not like you need to make World War II more horrible, bro. And I said, I know, but I already wrote it. What are you going to do? So that's fun. Full cast audio. And yes, I make my voice acting debut in this, in a full cast audio production. I am Colonel Mayberry, named after Jonathan Mayberry. And then we moved into October. In October, the Crypt actually came out in print, available for all of you in an audiobook and an ebook. We had a blast. We had a marketing campaign. I was able to get a bunch of my author buddies to read it and give a blurb, including Pierce Brown, who is shown here, who is just a hell of a guy, Jonathan Mayberry, Peter Clines, Nicholas Sansbury Smith, several other people getting to help, put out the word about it, and them putting out the word about it, plus all of you lovely, lovely people. Turned out we had a hell of a debut for a book one in a genre I've never written before, which is military sci-fi. I consider this pure horror. The Crypt is kind of like horror with guns and ranks, if you will. But everybody else is calling it. There's a lot of other people calling it military sci-fi. I don't know. The best people, they say it's military sci-fi. That's what they tell me. And we were able to hit number 4 over on Science Fiction on Audible, which is really fun. If you look at that Murderer's Row lineup above me that prevented us from getting to number 1 in that category, I don't mind quite so much. John Scalzi, Hail Mary, Expeditionary Force. It's just great books out in front of us. So thank you all so much. And again, as usual, if you've not left a review on Audible for The Crypt, please do so. We would appreciate it. If you don't think it was good enough for a 5-star review, just don't leave a review at all, because all of that aggregate numbers, all of that adds up. But if you loved it and you think it was a 5-star, go leave a review. And then we also did very well over on Amazon in the ebook format, where we were the number 1 new release in military sci-fi. And we might have been number 1 in military sci-fi. I really don't know. But that is a very, very, very competitive market segment. So we're very happy with how we did. And again, we thank all of you for buying that book. And it's really fun to get to play this new area. And I start Crypt Book 2 next week. So the Athon boys, I said to the Athon boys, okay, this is an announcement. Let's make this announcement right now. I told the Athon boys another book, which is coming up here in a second in the slideshow. We still have the final draft doing that when we get the edits back from the editors and the publishers. And then we have GFL Book 7, which we're at the final draft stage of GFL Book 7. So I email the guys at Athon. I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to spend a couple months. I'll knock out this one book. I'll knock out GFL 7. And then all I'm going to do is write Crypt until the Crypt series, all 5 books, are done. And the Athon guys were like, they don't talk like this, but this is how I imagine it. Scott, I was thinking that maybe you bump up Crypt Book 2 to your next project. I think that would help us out a lot. And you know what? I think we've done you a couple of favors in the past. Maybe, you do us a favor. You bump that up so that we get the audiobook out. We're not sitting on our fucking asses with their thumbs in their fucking ears, waiting for you to finish your goddamn book you were supposed to give to us a year ago. And I said, well, that's very compelling, and I think I will shift over to The Crypt Book 2 and get rolling on it. So let's continue with your interview. So now, that is the news you guys have that no one else knows until this stinking moment. The next book I write will be The Crypt Book 2. Chris Grohl knows, J.P. Harvey knows, Joe Root. Those are the three primary consultants of The Crypt, and they are awesome. And then we move on to, hold on. And of course, in November, finished the first draft of Warpath, which was I'm still not allowed to tell you guys what it is about, but I believe I am allowed to tell you this was one of the most difficult books I've ever written. It is in a genre that I have not written before. It is in an era that I have not written before. And Rob Otto actually helped out a ton with this. It started out as one thing, became another thing, and now it's this thing. But November 30th, on my birthday, we were able to send off that first draft. Big sense of accomplishment. The early feedback from the publisher is they really like the overall pacing and setup. But you can tell these are Hollywood guys. You can tell they've got notes. Scott, we have a few notes. Come on in. Let's sit down for a moment. And that can mean any number of things. When a Hollywood person tells you they have notes. Sean, that is still the working title. I am pushing for it to be the actual title because I think it's a really cool title. And Rob and I did the initial outline for this specifically to that fucking title. But only after we did the full outline did the publisher tell us it was just sort of a suggestion. Hey, we're tossing stuff out. So now after we've spent countless hours doing that, we will see where it goes. And then that was November. And then, oh my God, you guys, December. December was a Christmas fiesta. It was a Hanukkah extravaganza. It was a Kwanzaa smorgasbord. No matter what you can think of, we had shit covered in December. First of all, Joe Ledger Unbreakable. Frankly, one of the best stories I've ever written. It is called Little Murder Machine, and it features Joe Ledger's cat. Joe Ledger's cat is in this anthology. If you guys are at all Joe Ledger fans, pick this up. I'm listening to it right now. It's really good. Murderer's Row of this thing. Ray Porter not only narrates all the stories, he wrote one of the stories. Kevin J. Anderson is in it. Keith R.A. Candido. Peter Clines. It's Heather Graham. Of course, Scott Sigler. And of course, Jonathan Mayberry. It is packed top to bottom. And which one did I just listen to? I just listened to... Wayne Brady and Maurice Broaddus. And their story was excellent. It's really, really, really good shit. So pick that up if you like. And then, of course, in December, we also launched Slay 2, which you guys are listening to tonight. Slay 2 Hatchet Man, the sequel to Slay by me and Rob Otto. And Rob and I have adjusted, in A Real Girl, we've adjusted all the art. So when Slay actually comes out, it is going to read just like this footer here. Slay by Scott Sigler and Rob Otto, I can't remember where we settled on. Anyways, this is the first graphic I could find. So, Rob Otto in the house. That started in December. We expect Slay Book 2, Hatchet Man, to be out in 2025. Completely finished. Oh, snap. Shit. I blew it. We also, we'll come back to it. You guys didn't see that. You didn't see that. Let me freak out. Let me be a fanboy. Also in December, we had The Good, the Bad, and the Uncanny, which is my story. Simple Silas in it. Another Jonathan Mayberry joint. Edited the whole thing. Edited by Jonathan Mayberry. This is a Weird West book. So supernatural, paranormal, Old West. So you got your six guns and monsters. You got your horse trough and you got your demons. You got your windmills and you got your witches. You got all kinds of good shit. It's a really fun story. Mine is called Simple Silas, and I like it a lot. I think you guys will dig it. And then the final thing that came out this year was the 100th anniversary of Weird Tales. Weird Tales is one of the, it's a publishing to this day, one of the preeminent publications for speculative fiction occult fiction, detective fiction, sci-fi. 100 fucking years this thing has been in production. And this book is the bomb. It's absolutely gorgeous from top to bottom. It is one of the best packaging I've ever seen. That's what they call the book design. The packaging has got glossy holographic stuff. And my story, and look at this shit. They put a Kraken in this. You know why? Because fucking daddy's in it. That's why they put a Kraken in it. Gotta love that shit. Let me go to, we're almost done. And I was honored to be the second story in the book, the first one being an intro by Jonathan Mayberry. So let's go to page 5. Look at this bitch. Look at this bitch. What a pimp. That's Jonathan Mayberry with one of his original weird tales he bought when he was just a wee lad. So I got to be, here's the name of the story. The third guy from the left, bottom row, in the old-timey picture above the left side urinal at McTeague's Bar. McTeague's Bar is a San Francisco bar where I used to go, ladies and gentlemen, to watch none other than the Detroit Lions. And the greatest thing that has ever happened to me in my adult life past the age of fucking 25 is the Detroit Lions are the NFC North champions 2023 home playoff game coming up this Sunday at Ford Field. And I don't give, okay, I would like them to win. I don't give two shits about the game. All I care about is finally, fucking football is back to winning form in Detroit. I'll go, if I had time, I'll go show you this little gadget I got. Okay, we got it rolling. Now, here's the fun part. Let's go over to the chat. And this is, I wanted to try and communicate to you how long it has been since the team that breaks my heart every goddamn year, except this year, how long has it been since they won a division title? You guys ready for this? Rob knows. Rob knows everything about football. The last time the Lions won a division title was 1993. I was 24 years old. Here's a couple of things to give you an idea how much time has passed since the fucking Lions have won a division title. I was 24, excuse me. I was unpublished, completely unpublished. This is before ebooks, before Kindle, before podcasts, before YouTube. That's just what I jotted down. But then I went to a real girl herself and I said, can you give me a couple of things that had not been invented yet? You know, when the Lions last won a division title. Yes, Bruce. Not only did I have hair, it was fucking gorgeous. It was strawberry blonde, curls. I would like style them a little bit over here. Now, of course, it was already receding, but I didn't know it was receding. So there were high-level strawberry blonde curls coming down and a big old flowing mullet because I was playing in metal bands at the time. Shit that had not come out the last time the Lions won a division title. LASIK eye surgery. Nah. The entire fucking internet. Email, GPS, social media, YouTube, streaming services for movies, music or TV did not fucking exist, bro. It wasn't fucking there. Chipotle had not been founded yet. Wikipedia? No. There was no Wikipedia the last time the Lions won a title. The Elf on the Shelf? Yet to be fucking disturbing. It wasn't even there. Gummy vitamins? Didn't exist. The Nintendo 64 came out in 96. The fucking Nintendo 64, this obsolete, archaic video game system, was still fucking years away the last time the Lions won a title. You know what else wasn't fucking invented? Digital goddamn cameras. I'm not talking cell phone cameras. I'm talking digital cameras. The whole concept had not yet been out the last time the Lions won a fucking division title. Oh my God. That was a lot. That was a lot. Sean says the N64 isn't quite that archaic. Listen, dude, we did this research meticulously, which an empty set means 5 minutes before showtime. So cheers, bro. Yeah, I know, Vaughn. The internet's been around 70s. World Wide Web, browsers, AOL, all that shit. I'm trying to think. Anyways, the general principle is fucking Fred Flintstone was still pedaling his fucking Hyundai to work with his feet the last time the Lions won a division title. So I want, of course, as a football fan, I write about football, I watch football, And I will not lie to you guys. I will not lie to you guys. I've got a lot of great moments in my life. The Lions fucking winning a division title this year is way the fuck up there. It is astronomically up there. Let me show you something. Hold on, be right back. Sorry. I dropped my shit. So I was so pumped up for the Lions winning for the first time in my life. I bought a Lions jersey. This is the first one I've ever bought. I got tons of Lions paraphernalia, Lions clothing, some of which doesn't fit anymore because I was even a tinier person than I am now, which is still fairly tiny. So I bought myself for Christmas, or actually a real girl bought me for Christmas, an actual Lions jersey, stitching, letters stitched on, all that shit. And whose jersey did I get? Yes, Michael Grace, this is before the birth of children. Whose jersey did I get? None other than a gentleman that played for the Lions. Not only did he play for the Lions, on their extraordinarily embarrassing 0-16 team. 0-16. That means, for those of you who don't know math like me, that means they did not win a game. Rob, was that the first time that ever happened in the NFL? I believe it was. And then the Browns doubled down on that a couple years later. But holy shit. And that was, I believe, the year, the 0-16 team is why they got Matthew Stafford, who the Lions faced this week. That's a side note. And whose jersey did I get? Another number 89. Who was on the team? Dan fucking Campbell, the coach of the Lions, who has brought the Lions back to respectability, was on the 0-16 team. Baby, that's fucking beautiful. It's beautiful. You know what it is? It's fantastic. It's fantastic. So, although I published a shit ton of books and had a great time putting things out and making things for you guys and working with Rob and working with A Real Girl and Steve Rickyberg and Big John Viscar and Allie Press and all the other fucking wonderful people and all the people who helped out with the crypt, fucking JP and Chris and Joe and all these amazing people that I get to talk to on a daily basis that enrich my life and make my life fantastic beyond my wildest dreams, and get to hang out with my wife and hang out with my fucking awesome dogs and have this awesome place and live in San Diego, California. The best fucking thing that happened to me this year with the fucking Detroit Lions making the fucking playoffs. So there you go. And if that makes me a shallow man, I don't care. I'm shallow. And I will be watching the game with my wife this Sunday. No one's coming over. We're not going to no bar. I'm going to sit in front of that TV and I'm going to scream at the TV until flecks of blood coat my upper lip and lower chin. Win or lose, you can guarantee I'm going to have fucking no voice on Monday. Therefore, that is the Empty Set 2023 year in review. What do you expect from a guy who writes about a fucking pro football team? Jesus. What do you expect? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Very good time hanging out with all of you tonight. It is 7 o'clock. Is there anything in the chat room? Tracy Shank, yes, I do have Lions underwear, and I also have Lions socks. Suck it! I have Lions pajama pants. I've got 3 Lions t-shirts, 2 Lions knitted full-length shirts. I've got the jersey. I've got 2 Lions hats, and that only counts the Lions hats I still have that I haven't lost. All told, it's about 10 Lions hats, socks, underwear, slippers. I have fucking Lions slippers. So you asked a question in jest. Jason, no, it's not a Lions thong. It's leopard print. But let's not get into details. You know what? I have the Lumencia leopard print thong. That's what I got. Eventually, we're going to sell Lumencia leopards shirts and jerseys. It's going to be very, very fun. Michael Grace asks, what was going with Laporta might change. What was going on with the tight end Laporta, who got hurt in a game that in some ways didn't matter to the Lions, but that is Dan Campbell's nature. I don't always approve of it. But if the Lions had won and the Cowboys and the Eagles had lost, the Lions would have gotten the 2nd seed in the playoffs and probably hosted a second home playoff game. That is why Dan Campbell went for all the marbles and played all of his starters. And unfortunately, the Cowboys knocked the living shit out of the Washington football team. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next week, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a very melodramatic episode of Slay. And then that is episode 43. And we get back in episode 44. The bloodshed, carnage, and general bad attitudes of everybody involved, plus the drug abuse, plus the alcoholism. They're all going to be back. They're going to be back in spades. So you are all fantastic. I appreciate hanging out with you tonight. I am going to go chill and try to not think of football until Sunday, which probably is not going to happen. But thank you for a wonderful 2023. A Real Girl herself and I are so grateful for all of you tuning in, hanging out, buying our books, listening to our podcasts. We would not have this life without you, and you're all fantastic, and you all smell an awful lot like fucking flowers. So therefore, we're going to sign off. You're great. Love you. If I missed any questions in the chat room, please email them to info@emptysat.com, and we will strive to get those questions answered for you in a timely fashion. If not on the show, then we will do it via email. That is it. You know what? You can all kiss off into the sky. Ha! Ha!